we'll bring lenders together at the center. Check out the site, and that way you can hear directly from them. But just on a very short note, again, don't use your own money. Save your money for later, which you're going to need it for the business. Marketing, again, we have to know who the customer is, and the customer is always right. Right? Right. Always right. Taxes, unavoidable, but make sure that you also attend our session, because a lot of, if you have a sole proprietor, you have a home-based business, some of the expenses of the business are business expenses, which they are write-offs. But also said about payroll, and my suggestion, get somebody to the payroll for you, unless you are really, really, really sharp on that, because the legalities of the payroll are a little bit more than just writing numbers. It takes a little bit more, you know. So get experts, pay somebody else to do that, especially a company who just does payroll will be a good idea. That's me. Do you have any questions? I have time for 1, 2 questions. Yes, sir. He's asking about the funding slide. I know that the 3 questions are on the side, also on your handout. What do lenders want? The lenders want to see money. Okay, lenders are, on the good sense of the word, any bankers here? So the sense of the word, lenders are not investors. They're not advisors. They're not coaches. They are lenders. Their money, their business and lending money. So they want to lend money to people who can pay back, especially people who have money. And think about if you have a friend that is always borrow money from you and never pays you back, will you lend money again? No. So nowadays, especially lenders want to see people who have money already, at least portion of that money. They will see about 30 to 50%. They want to see that up front. Credit is very important. But again, the most important part is money. Yes, sir.
You mentioned the federal employee ID number. Now that's a separate process than going through the DBA.
That is correct. That's in addition to. And that one is obtained through the IRS website. Very simple, do it online. It takes you 10 minutes and you get your number right away. I do want to thank you for your time. I know I'm out of time, but any questions or if you would like to set up appointments, Karen on the back and Eileen are there to take, if you are interested in talking to us further, be more than happy to meet with you. And thank you, Kathy. Thank you.
I encourage all of you a little bit later in the day this morning to go to the Small Business Development Center, the table they have out there, and talk to them, because I forgot. Hey, Joe. Yes, sir. How much does it cost me to come see you? I'm sorry. How much would it cost me to come see you? Absolutely nothing. And you've heard this from the Chamber of Commerce. It's a valuable service to have in starting your business, asking questions. They have an array of sources and everything, and you can set up appointments with them this afternoon or this morning also. So please stop and see the table where Joe is out there. Next we have this morning will be George Buell from the Development Services, and his program is Navigating Through Oceanside, the Development Process. George Buell.
Good morning, everybody. I'm George Buell. I'm Director of Development Services here with the city. Now, Development Services is made up of 3 different divisions or sections of work. We're building, planning, and engineering. And the building division oversees construction of private development. Planning oversees the plans that come in through for building permitting to make sure that they conform to the zoning ordinance, and also looking for future uses of land and what it might be used for in the future. And then with engineering, to ensure that public infrastructure and the services that are necessary to serve a property or an area, such as your storm drain, your sewer, your water, your sidewalks, your streets, are constructed properly. Now, by way of background, just so you understand where I'm coming from, I've spent about 2/3 of my career working in public sector. The other third was in the private sector. And before that, before my formal career began, per se, I was a retail guy. And my dad was a pharmacist. He had a drugstore, and I remember very vividly what it was like to be at home and listening to Dad tell stories. Sometimes they were nightmares of dealing with the city, or being thankful that the police were there when somebody had driven a car through a window and they needed to go down in the middle of the night and get things buttoned back up. But coming from a retail background gives me a unique perspective, and I think in large part I can understand where you're coming from, because I remember what it was like watching my dad deal with cities over the course of his career. And that helps in terms of how I can work with my staff. We're a staff of about 45 people, and how I can train them to better and more clearly explain what it is that you're looking for, what it is that you need in order to succeed for your business. We get it. You want to start businesses so that you can make money, and so that you can in turn put people back to work and keep the economy moving. And we're excited about that, and we want to help you in doing that. Now, the processes that are involved in our department, in building permitting, in getting land use permits and things like that, they seem complicated. In some respects, they can be very complicated, but in many regards, it's a pretty straightforward and simple path. And throughout the course of the balance of my presentation, I want to be able to articulate to you, number one, what Joe spoke to is to help alleviate your fear. Don't be fearful coming into the process. Understand that there is some method to the madness. It might take some crazy twists and turns, but we do want to help you get there. This is, in general, the mission of development services, to ensure that buildings and public infrastructure are constructed safely. Look, we don't want buildings to fall down. We don't want buildings to catch on fire. We don't want stuff in buildings to blow up and to harm property or harm people. We're here to protect, to make sure that things are designed properly so that people and property don't get hurt. We want to ensure a well-planned community in infrastructure, looking at the water system, the sewer system, storm drains, and streets. If you have a brand new business coming in, let me just take a real quick sidebar. How many of you here are contemplating opening a home-based business initially? It might grow bigger. How many are you contemplating a business in an industrial or commercial location? Okay. How many of you really don't know and you're trying to figure that out right now? Fair enough. Good. That will help me as I go through the balance of my presentation to understand where you're coming from and what it is that you might be looking to hear from me here today. Getting back to the PowerPoint, compatible land uses. That is key with regards to the city's zoning ordinance. And if you're proposing a business that is in a commercial and industrial location, if there's any question actually in the code as to whether or not there might be some issues of compatibility, then you're going to have to go through a discretionary review process. Discretionary meaning that the Planning Commission or the city planner is going to exercise a level of discretion with regards to your application. And they will determine whether or not what you're proposing to do at that location is compatible with the surroundings. Let me give you an extreme example. Do you think it would be appropriate for an ammunition factory to be situated in a single-family residential neighborhood? No. Nobody would want to see an ammunition factory next to their home. So, given that extreme example, we're looking to ensure that there's good planning, good thinking, compatible uses within the same general areas so that the quiet enjoyment of one's home is protected, or the quiet enjoyment of one's business location is also protected. Lastly on the slide, dedication to ample land resources for appropriate uses, ensuring, and this is a legislative act that would eventually be approved by the City Council, to ensure that there are adequate areas of land dedicated to appropriate uses, that there's area for industrial uses, commercial, residential, open space, parks, and so forth, and that there's a method to that. There's a method to that madness, and it makes sense primarily to the community. Here's some examples in pictures. Looking at the upper left-hand side, you can see that that is representative of a couple things. One is shoddy electrical work. This is actually an indoor agricultural use. It's a picture out of New South Wales, Australia. Somebody was harvesting marijuana in their home. They're probably making a lot of money, but the electrical work here would not cut muster with California electrical code. The picture right below it, where you see a part of a building that comes down, that was a Bullock's building in Northridge right after the earthquake. And when our building division reviews plans, a lot of things that they're looking at, and especially after the more recent earthquake events, we want to make sure that buildings are going to stand up in the event of natural disaster. We don't want to see buildings falling over and hurting people. We don't want to see buildings falling over, period. And as a result, building codes have changed over the course of time, and we don't want to see what you see here. Now below that, you might be familiar with this. It's a neighborhood in Encinitas. It's up above Moonlight Beach. A lot of people really love the boat-type architecture that you see here, but I'll bet you when it was proposed to go in there that there was a fair amount of concern expressed by some of the neighbors. Going to the upper right, this is, I couldn't find that this was a spoof on the internet, but this is a condo, a high-rise condo that fell over in China. And again, the whole building fell over in place. If you can see carefully enough, it doesn't look like there are very big footings coming out from underneath that building. Or footings are concrete that goes way deep down into the earth to keep it up. What I read is that they were trying to install an underground parking structure after the building had been built and the whole thing fell over in place. We don't want to see that happen, all right? And then lastly, you see an example of perhaps some badly placed guardrail where it went right through a Chevy Suburban there. That's in eastern Washington. These are the types of things that we don't want to have happen. We're looking to protect. We're not there to try and make your life difficult. We're there to protect property and people from harm. With regard to commerce and industry, it's integrally woven into the fabric of the city. We're open for business. The city council and previous city councils and future city councils are going to be dedicated to business and to your success in your venture. We're open for business. Okay, this is what you see in yellow is just a blurb that's in the city's vision statement, to provide an environment that promotes economic development. Put that in full context, you see that economic development, business it's woven into the vision statement for the city. Look at these real quick. Promote friendly, well-balanced, coherent business development. Next one down, expand cooperative partnerships with business and a motivating force to awaken the economic potential of the community. What is this? This is part of the vision statement from the city's general plan land use element. And again, this is to point out that intentionally, we know that business is important to the